I did it my way. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Morning Startup. My name's Dave Newman. This is the beautiful Scott Glue.
G'day. G'day, everyone. Oh, it's working now.
Oh, there you go. Helps if you turn
Thanks
it
for
on.
coming. Such a rainy, miserable day, but you're here. Well done. Challenge accepted.
Yes.
So,
4:30 this morning. Dedicated. Get up.
4:30. That's ridiculous.
That's
I
me.
don't live in Mandurah.
Yes.
Anyway. So, who hasn't been to Morning Startup before? Cool. All right. So, we do this every 2 weeks. We've been going for 11 years now, which is pretty mad.
Yes.
Yeah, things like
11
that.
years.
And we talk about startup-related stuff. So if you're starting a company, getting something underway, you've got an idea, you're hacking away in your bedroom or something, and you just want to meet other people doing the same thing, this is the place to come. Every 2 weeks, rain, hail or shine, you can meet some cool people. That's the whole goal of what we do here.
We hope to share some of the failings or wins that we do along the journey or as a community so that you can hopefully avoid them.
Yeah,
So-
there's a few of them.
Yes.
So what we like to do is if you are new here or if you've got something that you're working on, this is your chance to sort of stand up and give a bit of a 20-second spiel on what you're doing and if you're looking for anyone, developer, a CTO, whatever, give us a shout out. This is a shameless plug and announcements.
And it works.
Yeah.
Billion-dollar companies have been created because of this.
That's it. All right, Justin.
And that's no joke. So there's a few I know that have not put their hands up, so I will come and give you the mic regardless.
Do you want to force them first?
No. I'll.
No problem. Hi guys, my name is Justin. I work for a company called Software for You. We actually have an event coming up on the 14th of July where we are helping founders go from discovery to founder, the application development lifecycle. Would love you guys to join. I do have a QR code that you can scan if you want to come meet me at the end of the event, and would love to see you guys there. That's it. Thank you.
Terrific. Where is it?
I'm Callis Brothers in Leadville.
Ooh, fish and chips.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, who else
next?
wants to go? This gentleman here.
Morning guys, my name is Tom. I run a company called Recipe Revenue. It helps chefs basically calculate recipe prices, balancing flavour and profitability. Kind of works like Canva for food, so you go in, click it, and then all of a sudden you get all your numbers. And just keeps chefs really creative, but also understanding their numbers and can hopefully buy better quality ingredients. That's the goal. What I'm looking for right now is to just meet more chefs in around WA and Perth that are trying to make better food and really focus on flavour rather than just profitability.
Ah, terrific.
How do people contact you?
The company's called reciperevenue.com, so you can go through that, or just meet me after here and just speak to me and I can give you some more information like emails and things like that.
Sweet. How many chefs have you got now?
It's just launching
It's
right
launched?
now. It's in beta.
So you're looking for customers? I got someone who can help you out.
Good morning. I have a leadership development business that started with a guy who's going to be speaking at the CEO Sleep Out as the guest speaker tomorrow night. He was homeless for 2 years, for 20 years. I worked with him for 2, and he's turned his life around and has a food relief program now. So leadership development can make a difference to anyone. So our business is called the Institute of Regenerative Leadership, and we work mainly with farmers and probably chefs, the whole life cycle. So thank you.
Terrific. So that's Lena, the CEO Sleep Out.
Who else is brave enough?
Yeah, I'll give it another crack.
Go on then.
All right. 20 seconds, Curtis.
Yep, righto. Yep, I'm Curtis, Art Energy and Water. Hi, Jay. So, my interest is water for livestock and farming. Here I am talking about the lack of water out there, and it's bloody raining, all right? But the underlying issue is I know what happens when it doesn't rain. Yeah? Now, my background, mining. Currently, I'm dewatering technician at a project down at Greenbushes, lithium. So I know a bit about pumping water and that, but apparently I can grow lettuce with seawater.
Yeah.
Anybody else brave enough?
Desalinating seawater. It's a pretty cool project.
Gentleman here.
Can you get on board?
Hey everyone, I'm sorry, my throat's a bit funny. Hey, I'm Jason. My company is Palatide, and basically I help SaaS businesses with their UI UX design bottlenecks with immediate fixes. So basically how we work is it's a monthly flat fee. You sign up, request designs like you're working with someone in-house, so it's just managed in something like Trello. And we pick up the work 2 to 3 days later. You'll have designs back that you can review, and you can go through as many of these you can get through in a month. And you have full control over the work. And yeah, that's basically...
And 99 designs for UX design? Like, is it a whole bunch of designs that you get from different people, or is...
So the idea is you have kind of a dedicated designer. So it's like you have someone in-house that can start the next day, but with the expertise of a design team like an agency, with the flexibility of a freelancer. So you don't have to commit to anyone long term. You can pause any time, even halfway through a month. And you have someone that can start immediately that can help like in-house. But yeah, we do have a design team that we basically get feedback from each other and do that. But you'll have one person that works on your project. And then we have daily meetings with the design team to kind of make sure that the design's up to scratch, basically.
And what's it called again?
Palatide.
Palatide.
Yeah, Palettide.
.com.
Or .com, yeah. They go to the same place.
Good stuff.
Anybody else?
Some interesting things going on today.
There were a few hands around this area. Is anyone in this area brave enough to stick their hand up? No? Okay, fair enough.
No more events coming up, or...
Right.
All right, carry on. Thank you. It's great to see all these new things happening in Perth. So we also do a drink sing, if you're not a morning person or avoiding the rain. Found a sundowner, first Wednesday of every month. So in a couple of weeks we'll be at the pub. Come and have a chat with interesting folks. And cool. So we need to thank some awesome people. First of all, the Department of Jobs, Tourism, Industry, and I always get that wrong. Jobs, Tourism, Science and Innovation, JITSI, and the New Industries Fund. They are sponsoring the live stream that you see up the back, the crazy camera equipment that we've got going on. So if you can't make it here to Riff, there is actually a live stream. You can roll out of bed and watch it. But it's always better to be in the room and meet all the cool people in here. So if you're watching on the live stream and you're not here, sucked in, it's going to be better here. But, we're streaming this for the regions. Some people just can't get here. They need this content. So thank you, Jitsi, for streaming this.
Where are we streaming to? Is Geraldton, Esperance, and some of those particular places?
The entire world. I think you can log on from wherever you are. And I want to put a shout out to Deal Room. So if you've got a startup or a company, head to wa.dealroom.co. That's also a New Industries Fund initiative. And you can put your company's information there, as much or as little information as you want. You can put revenue figures up there, and it's just a way for the government to keep a tab on how the startup ecosystem is travelling here in WA, or the innovation ecosystem. So, get on Deal Room.
And before you flick on, I'd also say, whilst you have missed the deadline for the WA Innovator or Innovation of the Year, hands up if anybody applied to that? Yeah? One? Cool. There are some of these great initiatives along the top there. That's some of these icons. Waves obviously has brought 3 new VC funds to WA, or helped initiate the VC funds. One I know is actively now investing, and I know the other 2 are fast getting their stuff together. So big kudos to the New Industries Fund for helping that out.
And there's the innovation booster grants and things like that, where I think they gave out $40,000.
There's a lot. There's a lot. They were overwhelmed.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. All right, and also, sorry, Jürgen, I don't have your slide up here, but the live stream is provided by an awesome company called perthvideo.com.au. If you need some live streaming services, or you need your wedding recorded or anything like that, perthvideo.com.au. Awesome folks. And they can stream from anywhere, like in the middle of literally nowhere in the desert where there's no internet. I don't know how they do it, it's mad.
Starlink.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I don't think it is. It's other stuff. Anyway, Jürgen will nerd out about that too. So Ammo, go ahead, Dave.
No, Ammo, marketing company, helps startups, very much geared towards helping, if you're trying to get up and get customers and understand your market position and your market product fit, go and check the team out at Ammo. And if you haven't, make sure you subscribe to the Weird Growth podcast. I know that I spent probably yesterday or the 2 days just going through all the back episodes. You included, Mr. Glue, from last year. Yes, very interesting. And also hearing Cam's story about how he went from politics into creating or helping politicians into Ammo.
And they just had Kevin Brown from VGW fame and Isotana now.
Really
went through the whole VGW founding story and the craziness that happened there. So, very cool. Weird Growth podcast. Get on it.
Glenn, Beach and Group, he can't make it today because it's raining and he doesn't like to get his hair wet. So if Glenn, you're watching, you should be here, mate. But if you are looking for recruitment or you're looking for your next staff member, then check out Beach and Group, boutique recruitment company here in Perth. They've been advocates of the startup scene since it started, really. I can remember speaking to Glenn back in sort of 2013.
Yeah.
In and around that date. So, check out beachandgroup.com for your next hire or to find your next job.
Why am I holding a clicker yet? Also pushing buttons. Keep space. We do have some food. We haven't opened it up yet. No. So we'll have about half an hour of networking at the end of this. There'll be some food at the back. Help yourself. That's thanks to Keep Space. If you're in the e-commerce shipping things around game, they've got a warehouse here in Perth and a warehouse in Melbourne. It can help you out with the whole logistics problem.
Last mile logistics, I think it is. Something like that, isn't it?
Yeah, there's an acronym.
You give your kit to them and they will store it, and then when you get an order, they will ship it for you.
3PL, does that mean anything to anyone? That's what they do. Sorry, I'm not in e-commerce. And... Do you
want to do your own pitch? No, I can do it better than me. If you're looking for talented development resource...
Cost-effective developers,
yes,
I'm just going to say.
And you are looking to sort of get your product, your idea from idea into product, then check out Tekken and Patrick and the team here, and they will supply you with some staff, help you get that product from that idea in your head out into actual physical working product. So check out Tekken.
Yeah, they got React devs, WordPress devs, all sorts of devs, right?
Do I mention the coffee?
Awesome. And free coffee.
I was holding back. I wasn't sure, but if you want a coffee, go and speak. Get a card off.
Yeah, where are they?
I don't know. The cards are here somewhere.
Okay, so
grab
up on
a
the
card,
table.
take it down. They'll give you a free coffee.
Coffee down to Joey Zaza's. Everyone with the coffee is like, what?
that's why you turned up late.
Yeah, that's right. Go over and grab a coffee on the way out. Okay, and also we'll just run through this. So Space Cubed own this place and a few other places down the road, co-working space, but also like just innovation central. So if you want to work somewhere around cool people, come and do it at Space Cubed.
If you haven't subscribed, check out Startup News. It's amazing. Every Friday comes out a email of what's happening in the ecosystem. Again, it's really informative to help you, those who are disconnected.
And if you've got a story, submit it to Startup News and they'll send a journo out to your place and do a story on you. It's very
Plus
cool.
8 has, I think they've done their boot camp, and I think I don't think they've launched the companies yet, but I know that they're selecting, and that will be starting shortly. But again, it's every year, Plus 8. If you want the Plus 8 sprint, that's a paid course. I think it's like 8 or 16 weeks. You basically can go in, they'll teach you how to sort of run your business, product market fit and stuff like that. So it's a really great course. Go and check out Plus 8.
How to be a good entrepreneur. Startup WA, there are like government body, or they lobby to the state government about stuff that startups need in WA. So just go and become a member. It's 100% free. You'll get their newsletter. You'll get all of their stuff. Become a member of Startup WA. And TechBoard, again, like Dealroom, a lot of their data actually comes from TechBoard. So this was the OG data startup for startups in Perth. So put your announcements and things on TechBoard, and also just subscribe to their things, especially if you need investment. So they've got a very investor-focused audience. Get on TechBoard. Had anyone not heard of any of these organisations before? Is it new to people? Good. All right, we're doing our job. Cool. We're Morning Startup on all the things. Go and subscribe to us on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I'll be putting up some stories for today, so go and check them out and subscribe and share and all that stuff. More people that know that this is going on, the better. And if you want to do a talk one day or you want to send us a complaint because this sucks, then hit us up. Contact at morningstartup.com.
We have a special complaints department.
All right, cool.
I'm not doing this joke because it always...
Does anyone else want to do the joke? Do you know the joke?
That's the end of the formalities.
Nice. That's right. Formalities out of the way.
Yeah, that's such a bad joke.
Awesome. Okay, well, that's it for us. We got a cool guy here today. Jay, known you for quite a while now. Yeah. You've been in the startup scene for...
Got a red beard.
Well, when did you move from... you're going to tell us your story.
No, that's fine. 2018.
2018. And he's been in the food game in New York, and he's brought that expertise to WA. cool company called Dirty Clean Food. Who's used Dirty Clean Food before? The oat milk stuff? Awesome, cool. It's owned by a company called Wide Open Agriculture, and Jay is now the CEO. You've been the CEO for a year or so?
About 6 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
6 months. And he's had some hardships, some fun times along the way, and he's going to tell us all about it. So please make him welcome Jay Albany. Woo!
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Get your slide deck up.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, that'll work. That'll work. Cool. There we go. Go for it.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me, Scott. Jay Albany. I'm CEO of Wide Open Agriculture. We are Australia's leading regenerative food and agriculture company. We come to market commercially with a food brand called Dirty Clean Food. Dirty Clean Food's about soil health, clean ingredient lists, and delicious food. We are a public company. We're on the ASX, so I'm not intending to provide an investor update, but we do have disclaimers here that you should read carefully. There's more on our website. But now I'm really here because, as Scott said, Scott, thanks for having me. 4 years ago, almost 5, I was fresh off the plane from New York to Australia. I didn't know anyone. I came here. I worked out of Space Cube. I rented a place. I lived down in Baldivis. I'd drive up here to be part of the scene. And I was really sort of crafting my startup idea, and I loved this environment. And I was like, oh my God, who thought Perth would have such an innovative tech scene? I was really trying to figure out, do I want to go back into finance? Do I want to start my own thing? Do I want to get into food? And this place really made a difference to me, so I love being here. Thanks for having me back. Scott, and it's true, this you can get a lot done here. This system is really supportive, and it's really cool to be in Perth. Oh yeah, this is my shameless plug. There's a coupon code. Everyone can use it. It's valid to the end of the month. And you can buy all these wonderful things, and a wonderful, friendly person will deliver it to you tomorrow. Oh, can't hear me? This is my shameless plug. I come prepared because I love boring startup. Dirty Clean Food, awesome food, all these wonderful things and more. Brought to you by a friendly person tomorrow. Go online, check us out in stores. But I'm going to limit my shameless plug. That's not why I'm here. I'm here because I really like startup, entrepreneur, getting going. It's really been my life and the most passionate thing in my life. And I find that there's a huge difference between what people say about starting a business, even experts, and what happens when you're the person who is there and accountable. So I'm going to sometimes you win, sometimes you whinge. It's about risk, it's about uncertainty, and the emotional struggle as you plan and deal with this stuff over a long time of doing it. Why should you listen to me? Once I had an impressive beard, so I like adventure, I like risk-taking, but I've also done 0 to 10 million 3 times, so I've done this. I've also screwed up, but I'm putting the good times on the board. I started in startup world at the dot-com boom, 1999. It was great. I saw the most excess, ridiculous things there, and then I went and worked on Wall Street for a little while and sort of learned how to evaluate companies. I actually talked my way into that job saying, because I was an English major in school, so I had no math skills. I mean, I was good at math, but I had no formal economics training. But I taught my way into a buy-side job saying basically I could, after 9/11, saying I could go through all the rubble of the tech companies and find the survivors with industry information, and then they taught me the math later. So I've kind of done startup, studied startup, and then gone back a couple of times to build something. So that's why you should listen to me, but I'm not so great. I was a part of one of the most epic failures ever. This was that 1999 company, $300 million VC money at the peak of ridiculousness. Everyone you can think of, at least back then, Goldman Sachs, even Starbucks, Silicon Valley Bank, Chase Ventures, Flatiron, lots of people. And then there's this quote. I don't always really agree with it, but there's kind of this idea that there's a badge of honor in failing. I mean, I don't know. Do you really want to fail? No. But it is part of it, and the reason is because the numbers are kind of stacked against you. This is U.S. small business data. It's readily available. I'm sure people have seen something like this. It's hard to start a business. No matter how aggressive or conservative you are, chances of you making it in the way that you want to are low. And in order to do that, you got to grind, and you got to sort of willfully ignore the data. And you got to really get into it, and you're going to screw up along the way. And I think the hardest thing is how do you deal with when things aren't going how you plan? Everyone has a plan. Everyone has a pretty Excel model and a good PowerPoint. If you don't, you do need one. Otherwise, no one will give you any money. But you're up against this. This is not everyone's in digital commerce, but this is like a typical e-commerce retention curve. Awesome, I got a whole bunch of new customers in my funnel. Oh crap, 4 weeks later they're all gone. How do you build a business with this kind of challenge? It's emotionally draining. But you start with a plan. Everyone tells you to start with a plan, so your plan should look something like this. You got fixed costs, your startup costs, you fulfill orders. Ideally, you're making money the more orders you fulfill, so you get big enough to cross the boundary of making it versus throwing your cash in the fire, courtesy of econ nerds. But it's actually this is the econ language for that, but it's actually a lot harder when it's you, and it doesn't actually look like that day to day. So yeah, you plan for clear sailing. Oh, something else about me, I really like camping. And I moved here because I came here and camped in Western Australia in my sort of mid-youth and just fell in love with the land. And now I'm really thrilled to work for a business that it's all about turning scrub dirt into healthy, happy dirt. But I love four-wheel driving. I love open road. You have the plan. You've checked heat maps. You think you know where you're going. It doesn't always work out. One time in New York, I was at an online grocery that I started with a good friend of mine from that first company, and we were trying to sell the business, and things were going great. It's a frothy market, but we had learned our lesson from VCXS, so we were running it on tight revolving debt, and so everything was done to the bare minimum in terms of. I mean, it's not true. We had a big budget. We had a 8-digit business, but we were trying to sell it, and the warehouse, we wanted to spruik it up, make it look really nice. The lights were not great. We're trying to look like we need to be bought for 5 times sales. So we're hustling we had a late, bigger company in to take a look, hustling to make it look as good as possible for due diligence. We're opening up the doors, opening up all the windows, trying to get it really, light. Because if you get it lighter, it just looks better. Obviously, we're cleaning up and stuff. And lost probably $1 million myself, which is sad. I've never gotten that back. But all these pigeons flew in when we opened up all the doors to increase the light. So you think you know what you're doing, and sometimes the world just happens. And I think that doesn't come through in the graph of we're going to grow, we're going to get a little bit better, we're going to get a little bit more efficient. Stuff happens. I'm still sort of mad about that, as you can tell. Literally 2 hours before, pigeons everywhere in the rafters, pooping, flying around. We're just sitting there can you believe this just happened? Anyways, trying to get them out. The ceiling is 25 feet high. There's no way to get them out in time. Oh, it's horrible. Showing the due diligence. They're pooping everywhere. They're flying around, making noise. We just look like a bunch of hooligans. Learn from that lesson. Don't open up the doors when we show off the Dirty Clean Food warehouse. We keep it nice and tidy, and we fix it the day before. So yeah, this is how we've done at Dirty Clean Food. Pretty awesome, right? Winning. And it kind of actually looks like that graph I showed you. And we are managing our business towards that kind of performance. But I got to tell you, you could draw a regression line, and it would look like that graph. But oh my God, the difference between this day to day is something that only a founder or someone who's in the business knows. I can't remember which one of these quarters was COVID. Probably one of these. because it's the fiscal year, it always screws me up. But somewhere around here was COVID. We walked into the room Thursday before the state shut down. 80% of my business was restaurants. And, obviously I've been reading the news. We've been building our website. We've been investing for months in having a digital presence. But still, the word here, the restaurant feeling was, we're the world's most isolated city. It's not going to come here. We're just going to, be smart and not let it in. Which, everyone's credit, we pretty much did that. But there was a period of a few months where basically Thursday afternoon, everyone canceled their order. I have Dirty Clean Food started with meat. So I have tons of fresh meat. I've obviously been planning for this, creating online product. We freeze our product so we have shelf life. But I have basically a business-ending risk potentially that comes my way in a short amount of time. And we grew by 50% twice in a row. And it was because we flipped to digital and we planned. But did I plan it perfectly? No. We tried really hard. I'll tell you what the biggest difference was. I'm driving around just like everyone else, shopping for toilet paper or whatever else because the whole world is crazy and there's no groceries anywhere. And I looked and I was like, oh my God, there's no meat. There's no mince in this IGA. And I took my entire marketing budget and I bought ads for mince brought to your house tomorrow. And I'm sure more nuanced than that. We have a great team. I don't take credit for that amazing light bulb, but it's months of preparation, but it feels so much more, it's much more of an emotional roller coaster than what your finance friends will tell you it should be and how they're forecasting using their, normal distribution curve of how companies perform. And it may end up looking like that, but really how it feels is more like this. Oh, wait. Yeah, there we go. And can you get to the other side? This is me. In this case, I did not get to the other side. It's Nolensbrook. I said I'm an adventurer and I like four-wheel driving, and sometimes you win, sometimes you whinge. In this case, I'm blaming the guy who went before me who messed up the sand. That's my excuse. Actually, it was these guys. So you can imagine as a new American coming in, getting stranded in the middle of Queensland River. You meet these guys, they towed me out. Craig. This one, he's the one actually who had his green ute and messed up the sand, in my opinion. But they towed me out, and the reason I show this is because it's hard. A lot of people say, you're here, you're planning your business, it's pretty much what you said it was going to be. Why are you part of Wide Open Agriculture? Why'd you team up? Because, man, it is lonely and hard. If you do not have a partner or a good network, this is why this place is so important, you're going to be stuck in the river. And even if you can get out yourself, it is so much more likely, the percentages of you succeeding are so much more likely if you have a strong network. But yeah, these guys, how awesome is that? How amazingly, we're in Queensland, and he's probably got a 4X there. They towed me out of the river. They look like these Aussie tough country dudes. I'm new to the state from New York City. It was awesome. So it's just really interesting. So yeah, you have that thing, but this is more likely what's going to happen. Is that you toil and you toil and you toil, and maybe you fail, and maybe figure it out. And you're really, instead of, hey, I'm going to grow at 40% and then 30% and then 16% and then 8% and margins are going to do this, you should really be spending your time on, can I figure it out? Because you're going to have a binary outcome probably in the end as a startup or a new business, because unless you have a truckload of money to plan for all this, you need to figure it out, or you need to figure out how you're going to replenish your coffers. Now, funnily, this is the most successful business ever. This is Apple. And I know you're thinking, oh yeah, that was lucky for them. Steve Jobs showed up and boom. Believe it or not, he came back here. He still went through years of figuring it out. Now, I hope to have that outcome, obviously, but none of us can. There's only one Steve Jobs. But I think what's important is this pattern, whether this is months or years or weeks. It's the work to figure out your business and how you're going to get a breakthrough. just like what I was saying, in a more funny way, I hope, the work you're doing is increasing the probability of winning. And I'm saying winning because I like sports, and hopefully you guys all like footy or something. But you know, winning to me is different to winning to everyone. Everyone has their own version of, hey, I had a success. I started my business. You know, this is what I wanted to achieve. This is what I need to do to get there. So every new business has limited funds. So your initial outcome is this. And the work you're doing is trying to push up the chances that you figure it out before running out of money. So obviously it's good to have a backstop of money and friends. But I really think that the biggest difference probably between the way I think about it and the way sort of I read about it from my CFA course. Yes, I'm probably the only CFO in town with CEO in town with a CFA, is this sort of just being honest with the binary outcome and how stressful that is. I'm going to tell you about a couple things where I had a binary outcome, or it has yet to be resolved. We sell an oat milk. Thanks, Scott, for the plug. This oat milk is awesome. World's first regeneratively produced oat milk. It's carbon neutral. I came here like 3 years ago, and I was like, hey, man, we're going to sell an oat milk. It's going to be awesome. We're going to build a factory. Everyone's going to love it. I just kicked butt in the meat industry and beat all these meat wholesalers. We'll do the same for oat milk. It's been really hard. It's been really hard. And turns out that the market for oat milk was a lot more competitive and difficult than I thought. And it took us so long and was so expensive to ramp up our production that this was really challenging. Now, I'm happy to report there's likely a happy ending here. I mean, our sales have grown, but man, I tell you what, I think we grew 200% last year, but we had some rude awakenings when we thought we had sort of wrapped this up. First thing is, there was no factory anywhere when we had this idea, except for in other countries, and there might have been one at Sanitarium over in the eastern states. Sanitarium does not play nice, so we couldn't use their factory. And getting our Italian manufacturing partners to help us to produce here, took a lot longer than we hoped. Now I'm a public company, we talk about this a lot, so, what we said is we're going to be producing here this year. That's still true. So great, please support our oat milk. But man, getting from zero to critical mass in this business was very difficult. It was extremely competitive. I did a lot of things that attracted the attention of my competitors far too early, which I regret. One of the things I did was I stole the biggest distributor in town from that blue and red one you see there, which is Sanitarium. But I announced it because, prior chart, we need money to invest in what we're doing. And they reacted pretty harshly and gave us a pretty strong beatdown in Perth cafe market. I mean, if you with plenty of time to plan. Now, overall, I don't regret it because we have an oat milk business that's growing healthily and is more profitable than I think people think, but it sure got off to a rocky start. So that is an example of something that maybe didn't go as well as I planned. But should be right. That's what I learned to say. Sometimes you get a tire or a shock breakdown, and outside of Crater Lake? Is that the one with the killer? And I had a shock with me. I was ready. I took a 4-wheel drive, had to change a shocky. So sometimes you're ready for things that go wrong. But one thing that I strongly recommend to anyone is to be ready, in terms of being ready, is figure out how to sell. Do not trust. This is Ming. She works for me, trained me how to sell. She's awesome. Ming, you're awesome. If you're watching, you're probably asleep. But trained Ming how to sell. And when I was in that first part of my career, I worked on Wall Street. I didn't have to sell anything. I was the buyer. I was a sort of data nerd. And then when I got to Max Delivery, and I'm trying to build that business, we went through salesperson after salesperson, and it was awful. No one could execute. So I had to literally go around and figure out how to do it myself, to train people and to know what was happening. And if you are an owner, Like, selling is actually some people are good at it, and that is great. But there's a common misperception that you're just slick, or you're a good talker, or got the gift of the gab, or whatever it is. Maybe there's 1 in 100 people who are like that. But selling is like something you study and practice, and it is humbling. And you have to figure out a way to practice safely until you can get over the awful emotional pain of getting rejected. I'll tell you what I did, and I got rejected so many times. So we had this great idea. We're gonna grow faster by selling to offices, because the New York grocery business, 1 hour delivery, had a really big peak, kind of 4 p.m. through the night, but a lot of dead time of our fixed assets during the day. So, okay, how do we fix that? We'll sell to offices. Great idea. I went through 3 salespeople, just blew a bunch of money. And then I'm like, okay, I'll figure this out. It's still a good idea. I went around and got rejected probably 300 times just walking around New York office buildings. Going in the elevator, hey, how do you get your fruit? How do you get your water? How do you get your nuts? Just trying to figure out what would work. Wouldn't it be better if you just didn't have to plan ahead and just showed up on Monday morning? Or if you forgot to plan ahead, we just came right away. And then figuring out the push-pulls. But it was humbling, because here, I bought books. I read them. I actually read the sales books and tried it and kept track of what worked. Like, it was a 4 to 6 month process of working on myself, getting better at selling things. And I'm not the world's greatest salesman, but when I showed up here to Dirty Clean Food, I had to do the same thing. I had to figure out how to sell our meat. We got a whole cow. Now, I don't know if anyone has seen a cow. And we're all about regenerative farming, and I can tell you why our cows are good for the environment, but I'm not going to. I'm going to control myself. But a cow is big. And you shop and you think about, oh yeah, whatever, I love steaks. You got the best steaks in town. How hard is it to sell that? Well, yeah, that's great. That's about 10% of the weight of a cow. The rest is stuff that is extremely difficult to sell, and you have to go out to these restaurants and figure out, 20 different ways to sell mince in different creative ways, or the pieces of cow that make mince in creative ways to get a fair profit margin. The steaks are the only thing that's easy. I walked into a restaurant and I sold the tenderloin in 5 seconds without having sold meat before. And I thought, oh man, I'm awesome at this. It's a good thing I practiced it on those office managers. And then I looked, and Warren, this Pincini who owns Blackwood Valley Beef, and he was driving me around in his ute. I'm all about utes. To these chefs in town, he was like, "No, Jay, you haven't done anything yet. Like, you just gave away the only piece of leverage you have to get new customers by selling your steak." It was a painful thing. But now we do over 30 cows a week. We're in 30 of the top 100 restaurants, but it's 4 years later, so it's a work. So the other thing you have to do is, this is when I get you with the emotional connection. The other thing you have to do is, because your odds are so low, you got to really want it. You got to figure out ways to dig in and motivate yourself. So the best way to do that is to do a business that you care about and are passionate about. If you do not care about your business and you're the owner, you should probably just go make more money for a big company. So for me, that's something we all probably know, but I'll just relay this by telling you what's passionate about me. This is me. You can probably figure that out. I have no idea, but this is one of those classic 1970 looking photos. That's my dad. My dad used to take me to, this is not going to be a surprise that it's about food, but my dad used to take me to this place called Pepper Place outside of Birmingham, where the farmers would drive in with we call them pickup trucks, and they'd have, peaches and watermelons and all this good stuff. And it was like a fundamental thing in me. Fresh produce tastes different. I have no idea if they're regenerative, probably not. They're probably using all kinds of pesticides and chemicals, but either way, fresh from the farmer, that was a value instilled in me. And when I moved to New York, I met this guy, Ray Bradley. Yeah, it's Fresh and Dirty is kind of similar to Dirty Clean Food. Sorry. Ray and I are still tight. And he was running a regenerative farm in New Paltz and was just an amazing guy, talking about how the way he did holistic farming, and it really created delicious food, and his food tasted amazing. And he had a cool beard too, so obviously I just worship Ray Bradley. Thank you. And I was able to recreate that same kind of experience with my kids. These are my kids, Lake and Finn. See, I'm getting you that emotional pull. You got to have an emotional pull to get people interested, and you need it for yourself, or you're gonna fade when it gets hard. And so I've tried to build a business that replicates this and offers this experience to a group of farmers. And that was literally the idea I had when I met you, Scott, was, hey, I want to figure out an online business that takes like this best local produce in the sort of Southwest, and I probably was calling it Best of Margaret River because I didn't have a fancy advertising company to come off Dirty Clean Food. And recreate this for as many people as possible. So that's kind of key. And so the takeaways from this long and rambling story of success and failure are, hey, you're going to have to take big swings because it's binary outcome when you're a startup. It's not the same. It's not your econ textbook. And your odds are against you. You're going to screw up a lot. You're going to get crushed by sanitarium and question why you're alive. And then you're going to have to stand up and get into Woolworths. Like, that's just life. So you got to grind on, and if you can't grind on, it's probably not for you. But you can learn to grind on if you're passionate, and you learn how to sell, because, God, if you can't sell, your partner better be able to. Getting from zero to something is hard. And then pick something that stays connected to your passion, because you're going to put your whole life into this. I mean, I work all the time. I've got that picture of my family. Luckily, my family likes what I do, but you're going to be into it, so you better like it. So that's kind of my. Those weren't really mistakes, but I've made some mistakes along the way. That's kind of what I've learned and what I wanted to share, because I really like this. Hopefully, I have another slide. Yeah, I really like this forum, and I love that Perth has such a cool community of people who are really trying to incubate new business ideas. And the reality is, there is actually an advantage being in the most isolated city in the world, because you have the freedom to try stuff and throw it against the wall, and you have many fewer people pointing at you saying you're an idiot, which is good. And you have a test market, which is very, from a marketing perspective, it's very representative of bigger markets around the world that you can go into later if you're successful. So it's actually a great place to be, and thank you, Scott, for having this going. Like you, I would not be here had it not been for Morning Startup. I would have gone and worked for a bank. I don't know. Thanks so much.
Thank you. I, for one, can say it's really refreshing to hear a story. You always hear about these overnight successes that took 10 years in the making, and I think everybody that sort of stands up here and hears the similar story is we can all kind of share similar experiences. Scott was witness to me having one a couple of weeks ago today, very similar, where you kind of have these downs and these ups, and you've just got to keep going through the grind, I think, and have that grit to just carry on, because eventually you will get there. And there's a saying which is on Riff, which is, those at the top of the mountain didn't fall there. And I think as founders, we also tend to look at other founders and see the stories and go, oh shit, why is my company not doing as well as theirs? And there's something someone said to me the other week, which was, I'm going to have to dig it out and remember what it is, but essentially something is the thief of joy. So it's very easy to look at other companies and basically say that, why is my company not doing so well? They seem to have made it, they're all going, but trust me, nothing is ever what it seems. And, just keep your head down and keep going, because eventually you'll pop up. And very, very similar stories there. Are there any questions?
Hey Jay, thanks very much for that. So I have a two-part question. One is, what book do you recommend for your sales that you've read of your plethora, and why? And the second part is, when starting a business getting to 10 million, was it easier to do it on your own or have a partner? And I know you mentioned partners, but I heard a really good saying the other day that it's easier to build a business with a partner because you can always use them as a sounding board and bounce ideas. But as a solo, I wanted to know if you had any of those challenges as well.
Good question.
Yeah, I have always had a partner, or in the case of wide open agriculture like a safe, supportive space. And as the years went on here, I'm now CEO, obviously, so it felt like an equal relationship. But look, obviously, if you have a partner, it introduces a whole range of emotional dynamics of people working together. And there are some people who work better alone, but I feel like if you're not going to have a partner, so I prefer a partner because I think that for myself, it would be too overwhelming to be that lonely and deal with the things that come up and then still keep your head to make a good decision instead of giving into an emotional decision. So sounding board, that's a great way to say it. What was the other question? Sorry. Oh, yeah. Okay, so laugh at me if you want. This is one of these books you can get in the bookstore that is like in the laughable business book section. It's called How to Sell Anything, or maybe it's Everything, with an exclamation point, by Brian Tracy. And it's like a self-help business guy. So it is, I needed to buy something so elemental that it felt like I grew up, I had like a speaking disability, like I needed something so basic. So it definitely was like, it might as well have been called, this is an infomercial in a book about how to sell, and I'm going to try to sell you on all my other business coaching techniques. With all that said, I bought the book. It was very clear. Some of the stuff I used, some of the stuff I didn't use, but the main lessons were really good, and that was probably, that was a while ago. I didn't have gray hair then, but I'm sure you can still get it. If not, he has like a bunch of books. I haven't read them all, but most of them have a selling element. The other one that a lot of people like, I have read. I remember I pulled it out the other day because it's short, so if someone wanted a shorter sales book. It's called The Little Red Book of Selling. And I did have underlines all through it, so I must have read it. I think I probably used it more as like a cheat code, to jog my mind for certain things. It's very skinny, so an easy read if you want to try that. Our top salesperson now is on a podcast, which I'll have to get, and maybe I'll share with you. But he loves this like selling podcast where all the salespeople sort of tell their stories and they get over their blocks.
On that note, I was just looking there's one book I read which was called Pitch Anything by Oren Clough, and I know that's been recommended to quite a few founders.
Yeah.
It's called Pitch Anything, the book is. Pitch Anything by Oren Clough. Just a quick question on the single founder. Are you single founder? Are you single person now, or do you still have that support?
Oh, that's a really good question. No, I mean, I still have that support. I've got great. So at the WOA, so Wide Open Agriculture, I worked with Ben Cole, who was the original founder of Wide Open Agriculture, really closely for years, and we have like a Dumb and Dumber friendship, sort of like we go after things. If you check out some of our stuff, we're currently pitching this bunting protein, which is which, as CEO of Wide Open Agriculture, is an amazing, game-changing plant protein. I swear it is awesome. People love it. We can't wait. We're out there pitching that together, so I still get that camaraderie. And then the executive team, we have a pretty tight team here. Actually, Miranda Stamps is my wife, my partner, so she's on the team, and Matt Skinner, our CFO, and I are really close. We spend a lot of time together. So having that tight team is a little different in a bigger company with more people. As the company gets bigger, the challenges of leadership are different. Like, I can't go make deliveries. I can't go to every restaurant and sell myself. I have to deliver an incredible bunting protein product all over the world, which I'm definitely planning on doing. So yeah.
Thanks, Jay. Really good presentation, and I love the story of Wide Open Agriculture, so well done. I wanted to talk a bit, and your question just sort of partly touched on it, was sort of the relationship between founder and CEO, and often that can be different. And also you took money early, or you had financial support early, which is fantastic, but that obviously comes with its own nuances and challenges as well. And I know, I build startups as well, and I know that journey of tapping friends and family for money initially, and then raising your first seed round, and then it's great to raise the money, but then this wave of expectation and pressure can come from internal boards, advisors, listings, expectations and stakeholder management. There's a lot going on trying to run a business and all of those challenges that you spoke about. Is there anything you can touch on there that you could share that would perhaps shed some light or some advice in that early phase of raising money perhaps?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I want to answer this fairly. Yeah, I mean, anytime you take money from someone, they are an owner in your business. And they may not be a majority owner. Hopefully you can keep that. But that means they have a right to talk to you about how your business is doing and demand information, and you're accountable to them. So there is a trade-off. But so a lot of people will say you really need to find the right first investor to get that first hump, because you need someone who is sort of bought into what you're doing and understands the risks. So for me in this situation, I was new here. I really found the right people to work with. Like, they're amazing. They're committed to changing the world. They had a listed mechanism to generate cash. They really needed a commercial business at that time. They had just finished a big project that hadn't worked. It worked in an incredible way for environmental and purpose reasons, but it didn't end up being as commercial as we hoped. So that was a really supportive place for me to incubate, and I think it would have been a lot harder had I just sort of been this American walking around Perth asking for money, which I tried. Yeah, I mean, it's a tough balance. And, as an ASX-listed company, I think there's a mechanism for I think there's a more easy mechanism here in Australia to be a very small public company and raise money than in other countries. I just think I know that Wide Open was with the right people. Like, it's backed by these impact investors in Europe to get it going, and a foundation called the Common Land Foundation that has a really values-forward framework called Four Returns. But I think, if you're starting early and you're thinking about a micro ASX listing, that introduces a lot of challenges, because once you're public, the pressure is a lot more short-term, and it is very time-consuming and stressful to manage those expectations and balance that with like a long-term vision that is best for your company.
Perth was known for the RTO, or the backdoor listing, wasn't it? There was a period of time about
I don't know how to gracefully say don't
to
do
about
that.
2016 where companies were just backdooring into old mining companies. Any other questions? Go on.
Yeah, shoot.
What's the most difficult part of a cow to sell?
Okay, that fat is the most difficult part of a cow to sell for me, unless you can, because you have to be able to fat.
Yeah, but can you make that soap? Isn't that like
You can do all kinds of things with it. Tallow is like a good way to do it, but to get the quantity that you need. Okay. So I end up selling that back to abattoirs or in wholesale bulk most of the time. For the stuff that are rot, because I couldn't figure out how to sell it, bones are also very difficult. You might say, oh, bone broth, obviously, but dog food or whatever. But no, there are a lot of bones, and they're really big. And dogs don't like to eat every part of the cow bone or chew on every part of the cow bone. And there are not enough regenerative, super eco-friendly bone broth companies that want to pay me a fair price for my bones. So those are really hard. But the key, if you ever want to get into the cow business, it's easy to sell your steaks. You want to get every hamburger restaurant in town. And I left out some stories battling to get those hamburger restaurants, but maybe over the founder's son downer, I can tell you those, because they're the meat business has a lot of funny stories in it.
I was expecting eyeballs or something like that.
Oh, no, I don't get the eyeballs. So a lot of I can get some of the sort of innards that are kind of gross, like, but they're actually not that hard to sell. They're not very big, like intestine sort of things. They're not, and there's some chefs that, like, it's like a cool thing to put on the menu, and they're not very big, so that you can save it up and sell it to them in a winter season or something. Right. Yeah. The word is like awful. Yeah. We'll have to get that on your app. Can I be the default option for hamburgers, please?
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Oh, is there a question down the end here? And that saying, I've just remembered what it was, is comparison is the thief of joy.
Thanks, Jay. Love your product, by the way. Amanda Garland, Sustainable Nature. How did you break through as a regenerative company working with agriculture, working with sustainability? How did you break through with the major providers, the multinational groups, to get the product recognised and to carry on, etc.?
In terms of getting large customers?
Like large customers, any customers, just getting your product on the table ahead of mass-produced products that might not be so produced well.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Look, it was hard. What I found, like, this would have been a good story of mistakes selling. So I'm all, I just showed you, I love Ray Bradley, and I'm all into Perth with these regenerative farming, enthusiasts, and I get in Warren's Ute, and we walk into these restaurants, and I'm like, oh my God, it's so eco-friendly, you think about beef and methane, but ours is actually blowing blah, 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 sequestering carbon, and the chefs are just looking at me like, how much does it cost? Does it taste good? And no offense, chefs are amazing, they've been super supportive, but I quickly learned that was like a good attribute, but it wasn't like the key selling point initially, and so it was up to us to sort of build that story. So I tried that a couple of times, and it didn't really work. I tried like 7 or 8 eco-friendly messages as the lead. What I found worked was, and this is why I rode around with Warren in the Ute to get started, was this is Warren. He lives in Boyett Brook. He is extremely likable. He farms the right way. Try a steak. It's delicious. And then after that, once you're into the it's delicious, then I worked out this sort of, you can taste the difference for how he farms. And let me tell you about what that is. So leading, it might be a little different now, because back then, if you said the word regenerative, most people, other than probably, the network that I see Barb here, and there's a network that would get it, but the overall market was kind of like, what's that? Like, is there a standard? What, is that organic? And you had to then get into this conversation to explain the difference between regenerative and organic. Now that has changed over the last several years. People now kind of know what that is, and they are asking me much more thoughtful questions like, how do you measure the progress of regenerative farming? And I have all these cool answers from technology we've used, but like about how carbon is sequestered and the change in biodiversity and on the soil. But a couple years ago when I was getting started, it was more about support local farmers. I mean, I was pitching, it was all still regenerative, but like the thing that worked was forcing me to put down what I wanted to talk about and let them say something they could sell on their menu. And then the consumer website gave a lot more flexibility to really tell the farmer story. So we used that. You'd think grocery stores would be competitive with us because I just said we've got amazing food, I'll bring it to you tomorrow, don't go to your grocery store because it's raining. But we had this sort of like partner-based approach to it, and it actually helps them get, I mean, they end up liking it because we promote them as well, and they see something cool and they ask us and we say, okay, yeah, we can, let's put it in your store. So it ends up working in a symbiotic way. Hope that helps.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Brilliant. Let's have a round of applause. Mr. Glue, 2 weeks time.
Yeah, what do you want?
Who do we have?
You know what? It's TBD in 2 weeks' time. So we'll get the info out there as soon as we can. But after that, in 4 weeks' time, we've got one on social media influencers and marketing to them in the best way, which is something we haven't done before. Yeah. So a guy from New York who's done it all before and successfully found influencers and attract them? How do you actually approach them? How do you find the right ones, not just the ones with more followers and all that sort of stuff? So if you're in that game, come along and check it out. So that's in 4 weeks' time. But yeah, 2 weeks' time,
We will let you know.
Yes.
Keep people to meet up.
Working a few people at the moment, and it's going to be awesome, whatever it is. But thank you so much for coming down, guys. And there's food up the back. Thanks for Keep Space. Patrick has different looking coffee cards today, aka his business cards. So grab a business card off Patrick, grab yourself a coffee whenever you like from Joey Zazza's, and we'll see you in 2 weeks' time. Thank you very much.
Just before we break, I will be moving around picking up the chairs, so apologies if I bump into you, but it will be a manic rush to get it all back to a co-working space, but feel free to use this space until 9 and then we'll kick you out. Cheers.
Loser up the back, by the way, if you need them. Or there's one down there. Cheers. So that was a very leading question.
I got